Okay, hidari hamne gamai. Oish. So kuriashi maigere, and just let it flow. Don't be formal. Don't be formal. Yeah, just push and throw your maigere. Ready? Oish. Emoate. Eh? Try and be as relaxed as possible. Through. Through. Oish. Turn your body. Oish. Turn your body. Turn. Oish. Emoate. Aye. Same. Maybe a little bit higher. But let it be part of the kuriashi. Yeah? Oish. Oi. Emoate. Yame. Yame. Not all of you, but some of you are doing this. When you do a kuriashi, for some reason you wasn't doing it when you was doing the zukis, but some of you seem to be doing this sort of hanging or lifting the foot too much. And you can tell with the head height, because your head, some of you are doing this. Yeah, and if you're doing a technique, it needs to be as straight as possible or dropping. Yeah? So you need to keep your front foot as close to the floor as possible. TN1. Yeah? But not lifting your foot high. So be careful about how high you lift. And try and be as informal as you can with doing this. It's not, some people get it fixed in their mind, Keons have got to be, yeah, rigid. So just let it flow. You want to fight the person in front of you, not fight your own body. Ready? So watch your front foot. Ready? Oish. Good. It's a different way of moving your body. So I do sympathise, because I was like that for years. Yeah, it took me years to try and get out of this rigidity and just try and relax. Relax! I am! Yeah, yeah, so just let it flow. You've done enough years, just let it flow. I ain't going to turn around and say that's a rubbish maigere to any of you, because you're all of a certain grade. Yeah, it's this, I want you to just relax and just throw it out. Ready? Oish. But it's about managing that movement. Oish. Get your body to turn. Oish. Emote. Oi. Couple more. You all know that when you do a punch, a junzuki, yeah, it's not this. It's not lifting your arm up and bringing it to the center. Okay, it's bringing your arm up and then turning your hip, because that's your natural position. And there's no tension at all. The only tension you've got is the muscles working to lift the arm. But it's that slight hip movement. Or it's a slight, I know what it is. It's a slight shoulder movement. It's your hip. Your hip and your shoulders, they're the same. Same sort of joint. So it brings your keri, your kick, to the center. So some of you are leaving it a little bit too late. It's like doing a punch and then turning after, instead of putting the hip into place, yeah, before you do the keri. So even if you can't do the kuriashi yet, because it's quite difficult to do a kuriashi because you're pulling it the opposite way. And then to make a quick change for your hip. So if you can't quite get that and you realise that you're putting your hip in late, okay? Try and get that hip to move first. So your maigiri is in the centre. Yeah, so we won't do a kuriashi, we'll just do a maigiri, yeah? So left leg forward, aish. So keep low, put the hip in and then a kick. But be conscious what you're doing. Ready? Aish. Aye. Good. Aish. Relax your arms. Ready? Aish. Aye. It's better. Why do we use a kuriashi? What? Yeah, to close the distance or just for ma'ai when you're going through. If there's anything I say in Japanese and you don't quite understand, I'm sure you will because Kerry's most probably been discussing with you. Okay, but that distance can change if you're doing the attack and they step back. That distance is altered before you've actually realised. Kerry. So just come around a little bit. Fighting stance. So here, there is how many distances?
Probably 4.
Yeah. 4 is this. Yeah? 3 is fighting distance. Yeah? 2 is carry distance. Yeah? 1 is zuki distance. I'm not trying to teach you how to, okay? So, first of all, what we're going to do is going to do a few maigiris to teach you there. Okay, but the other person is just going to step back out the way. So I'm concentrating on pushing forward into kicking distance. Yeah, I'm going to concentrate on turning my hip. And Kerry at the last minute is going to move away. Yeah, and then Kerry's going to do the same. Then I'm going to use the other leg. So I'm pushing. Yeah, if you feel I'm too close, then move away a little bit. But I want you to get used to that distance and that putting your hip in. Don't worry about your hands, just let them relax and be where they need to be. Because when you're sparring, you know, your hands need to be loose anyway. Okay, so just try and... Okay? You do that? Not rocket science, but it's just a build-up. Okay, carry on. Wish. If you find a bit close, then move away. That's it. To help your hip go in, drop your shoulder in. Yeah? Yeah. Can you see how you're fully committed?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too much, but that's good. Okay, yeah, man. Scott, you're in the mood, yeah? Fighting stance. So I'm going to take you back to the late 70s, come 80s, all right? With a technique that's most probably just not been used for a long, long time. Okay? So I'll wind back the clock, fighting stance. So when I push forward, Kerry's going to move back. And I exaggerated that, but what I'm trying to do is I'm pushing in, I'm moving, but then I'm trying to get that extra squeeze, that little bit of extra in by just that little bit of I won't call it a hop, but trying to gain that little bit of extra. Be careful you don't end up A over T. Yeah? But kuriashi, putting your hip in, and try and get that little bit of extra distance. If they're not aware, he's aware of it now, so he's going to move back. But if they're not aware of it, just that little bit of an extra, he thinks he's safe. But that little bit, just enough to catch them. Okay, I haven't seen it used for a long, long time, especially if you're watching competitions. It's not used that often. Okay? If you can, the first couple of times, maybe not step back so much and get them to just, get the contact so they're not bouncing off them. But watch the contact if you're doing it. Carry on. Oh, watch this, watch the contact.
If you go with that hopping,
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, and that shortens the kick. Get that body to turn. Okay, now try and keep that knee up. Because if he's judged it right, he's seen you do that, your knee's dropped, the Gakuzuki is going to be coming in. So try and keep your knee up slightly. The only worst thing is it comes down and takes your back leg. All right? But if you can keep your knee up a little bit more, because another one at Kamizawa's was he called this K2, B and A, before and after, the knee position. It was the same, so that you could kick again and again and again, instead of dropping. It would be, you could kick again and again, B and A, before and after. So just watch your knee position. Doesn't have to pose there, but just a bit of a thought about it and then drop. Okay, carry on, a couple more. I'm not going to linger on it. It's all very good charging in and doing that, but you need to manage the whole package. Okay. So, you've got to be... I want you to look for those hands, those fists, because those are the ones that are beginning to coming at you. So not just going, hallelujah, yeah, but try and use your front hand. Yeah, and let them use, don't suddenly go, because the next one's a punch, but try and just relax, yeah, this way, or when your hips going, yeah? Okay, before, carry on. Okay, some of you are already doing it. So Zanshin is awareness, what? Before, during and after. So, yeah, use your hands and then make sure you are considering after. So Zanshin, before, during and after. Doesn't mean you've got to start throwing in a Gakuzu. Can occasionally if you want, but make sure that you are considering your hands before, during and after. Yeah? Carry on. Okay, yeah, man. Yeah, okay? That's fine. Yeah, and as you say, it can also apply to the front leg, as you said you've been doing, which is... Okay, so I want you to face off with each other and just do more shigeri, same sort of thing, which is fighting stance. And it doesn't have to be a massive, watch the elbows. All right, but just, more shigeri and then let them come back. Yeah, more shigeri. Yeah, you can either do it with Joshukuti, ball of the foot, which as you get older, yeah, it's more than likely, my shigeri with Joshukuti, the ball of the foot is a lot easier to do than trying to do, I can't do it, but, my shigeri Jodan. So just get your hips going around, to the mashigiri, drop, let them do it. Okay, just to warm up your mashigiri. Carry on. Okay, yeah, man. Warmed up the hips a little bit. Okay, so as soon as I go for a mashigiri here, it's quite a telegraphed technique, and it's picked up very easily, or early rather, especially with your sen-no-sen, because you're seeing everything, the hips going, the movements going, the legs coming up. Yeah. So, and that's because it's how many degrees? 180 degrees coming around, isn't it? So what we need to do is cut down the angle. Yeah. I would, two ways of describing this. It's either soto or kuriashi. Yeah, or hirakiashi. Now, Wadoryu uses hirakiashi for this movement. Yeah, but really it's any sort of footwork, technical footwork. Basically, it comes from the No Theatre, a master of footwork. Yeah, so it's either hirakiashi, yeah, but you're using your front, or soto or kuriashi. Some of you are at the, come closer. Some of you are at the instructor's course. And Sensei Artemik was talking about soto and uchi. Yeah, some of you already know, maybe some of you don't. Okay? But this to me is soto. Why? Because I'm moving from my outside. And coincidentally, it's soto to sensei-keri. Because I'm going to his outside. Change stance. This to me is what? Soto. What is it to sensei-keri? Uchi. So it depends who you're describing it for. I remember I used to go and train with the Shotokan guys, and change it on. You know, this change it on. This to me was uchuki, but to them, this was sotouki. Really screwed me up. Yeah.
We've had this conversation a few times.
Yeah, it all depends on who you're doing the description for. That's all it was. You know, I just think, well, it's the difference between Wado and Shotokan. No, it depends on who you are describing. Maybe. Speak out. Uchi. Okay. But that's describing it for you.
Which I'm the most important person.
Exactly.
Until you have an opponent, and then in one of them, it switches to
But
their opponent.
okay, it's not get hung up on it. It's just basically saying, if you hear somebody, just watch the movement. Don't worry about what they're saying. Well, you should, but you know, think about Uchi and Soto and whether it's you or them. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to cut down the angle. So instead of 180 degrees, if I go Soto or Kuriashi, he doesn't know what I'm doing yet. But because I've cut the angle down to almost 90 degrees now, this should be a lot quicker. So if you're going to do mashigiri when you're sparring, don't do it from unless you've got a real wicked quick mashigiri, yeah? Try and, even if you're doing a kuriashi, we've been doing before, kuriashi to get the distance down. But it doesn't mean it's got to be backwards and forwards. You can do it to the side. And if you're going to the side, you're actually putting your hip in. for the Moshigiri. It's just making sure you're trying to think about what you're doing rather than just throwing a kick because I'm sparring. Yeah, you've got to spar a little bit clever, especially when you're getting older. Maybe not as quick as it used to be, but I can cut time down. Yeah? So get with your partner, yeah, and just basically get your kuriashi. Again, don't get coming up. Sink down, whether it's this hand or this hand. Yeah? But put the Moshigiri in. But take your time with the Moshigiri. No need to bladder them because they'll learn you to train with them anyway. Yeah? Carry on. To the side. Because the more I stretch, the more this, what, it wants to come back. So, and then you cut your angle down. You kick hardly anything then. Ah, okay. That's right, fine. Good. The more you can stretch, it wants to come back. So stretch a little bit more to the side, a bit further over. Now lead with your shoulder, not just your hip. Yeah, try and turn your body. Real. Okay, yeah, mate. So Colin, when you do your Moshigiri, it doesn't have to be, with the top of your foot. Everybody's got fixation of it's got to be that, but really, it's for Jodan. You should be thinking about either, depending on your distance and how they've moved, which you can't manage all the time. It's either your shin or your knee, your hizagiri that's going in. So, yeah, they're expecting Chudan or Jodan, because that's a gentlemanly thing to do, isn't it, when you're sparring? Okay, but so move, take the other one. Yeah, but just try a couple where you're moving and instead of doing Chudan, yeah, you be careful, coming down onto the inside. Okay?
Bruce does any toe kicks.
Yeah?
Like poke rights.
Okay, carry on. Oish. Just a few. Just to make you aware that it's not always got to be Chudan or Jodan. Okay, yeah, man. Interesting. Oh, you to Simon. Watch. That was a bit better. Try it again. I'll try and mimic. Come this way. I'm going to exaggerate it. Okay? It's all right. Okay, yeah. You know, lovely Moshigiri. It's the hill coming right the way back to do a good Moshigiri. Watch. Yeah? Pop, pop. So it's very similar to you going, relax a bit. Instead of punching from here. So you're going to kick from here. So instead of lifting the heel, you're going to be... Can you see how you keep your foot down? Even if I'm doing a Moshigiri Chudan, I've got to be kicking, carrying from where it is. Bit of a different mindset. Rather than lifting the foot and, yeah, even if it's Chudan, you should be kicking from here. Rather than lifting, pulling it back, doing this, because that's a bit like this. So, just for a few, try and do your Marshigeri. In a smaller package. Yeah? Just try it.